Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now, since I did the video kind of breaking down the Channel 4 interview with Kathy Newman and Professor Jordan Peterson, there was one thing that stood out to me in what was said, especially, and it was the thing that's now become kind of infamous because it's one of the things that stumped Kathy Newman. And that was when Jordan Peterson pointed out that in the pursuit of truth, one has to be prepared to be offended. To expand your perception of the world and things around you, you have to be prepared to be offended. And it's something that I agreed with, but it's also something that I kind of wanted to delve into a little more and talk about a little more. Because obviously, stuff like where you've got either controversial issues or you've got things that are sensitive topics of one sort or another, or things that people just don't want to talk about as well. That's one of the things that bugs me the most. Especially in academia, we're seeing this growth of things like safe spaces, of attempting to ban words or enforce language, and how certain things are going to be removed from curricula or kind of otherwise shifted around and hidden just to avoid hurting the feelings of people, just to prevent offence. And again, I've said this numerous times, but offence is taken, not given. And I wanted to reiterate this fact to begin with, because you can try and be as offensive to someone as you possibly can, but it's their decision to allow their emotions to boil over. It's their decision as to whether or not they're actually going to turn around and let you get in their head. And so as a result, the kind of impact of people's just words or things that were written centuries ago that are now potentially offensive, they're not. It's not on those things to stop being offensive. It's on the other person to control themselves a bit better. Personal responsibility, one of the three R's, one of the pillars of personal strength. That's one of the important things. And so I wanted to have a think about this a little more, because what would we not have today that we take for granted if people hadn't risked being offensive or being taking offence to certain individuals' work? Well, science would be set back by a long time. Things like vaccinations and things were ridiculed horribly. And the backlash against things like the theory of evolution, which is now very well supported by a wealth of scientific records and research. Things like some of the other information around the differences between men and women, even after things like equality and so on were written into law. The reality of certain other kind of world powers and things that kind of crumbled because they were too appeasing, or because they weren't aware of how appeasing they were being. That all stands out. But then also look at the advantages that individuals and groups that have been unconcerned about whether they're offensive or not have succeeded at. One of the most offensive kind of groups to ever exist were the Nazis, and they brought the entire world into war, essentially. It's like that's quite a feat in and of itself, even in a part of a time period where the world was shrinking anyway. They managed to literally either ally or antagonize with everybody. There were very few nations that weren't in at least one way or another affected by that entire situation. Yeah, they didn't win, thankfully, but then again, the Allied forces, were they particularly worried about being offensive and quashing someone else's beliefs? No, they weren't. And this is where now I see a double standard in what's going on. And this was the double standard that was highlighted during that particular interview with Professor Jordan Peterson, because he pointed out that Kathy Newman, from her perspective, was completely unconcerned with being offensive. And yet, as a result, she was gaining she was getting to a different point. He was unconcerned with being offensive because he was looking to continue to interact and gain kind of ground towards a certain point. And as a result, I felt that was healthy. I really loved that interview, as much as I thought Kathy Newman did an absolutely terrible job. Just in terms of it wasn't being so much an interview as it was just her attacking him, and also really not paying that much attention to the facts of the matter rather than just what she had heard and the media spin on it that she had been taken in by as a member of the media. It kind of stood out to me as going, well, yeah, so let's take a look at the various groups that are being most offensive at the moment and who are gaining ground. So in the States, especially, but also across a good amount of the rest of the world, the organisations that are doing best, be they the ones who are literally talking about banning words and being regressive on the left side of things, where they are on the more authoritarian side of liberalism, they are, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but hey, it's a thing that they do. They aren't worried about offending the people outside of their group. Same with the alt-right, then, and the people on the extreme right end of the spectrum, or ISIS, or whoever else. They're not concerned about who they're offending or who they're upsetting, who they're hurting. They just want their way. And it's the people in the middle who are more inclined towards discussion, who are more inclined towards being reasonable, that are losing ground. They're losing out from both sides. And that's partly because they don't want to be offended, but they don't see the point in being offended, but also they don't want to offend other people because they're nice. The people at both ends, the people who are imposing, they're not nice. And that's one of the reasons why they don't give two damns about who they're upsetting, as long as it's not upsetting their own people. And yet that doesn't help us get to truth. It doesn't help us get anywhere, because the two sides aren't worried about being offensive, but they're also not worried about fact. The people in the middle, more concerned with fact, not looking to just be outwardly offensive. And this is why I expect, just a sidebar, I expect wholeheartedly every time I put up one of these facecam videos, or even when I put up some videos about gaming stuff that is me niggling about something that is kind of on the less serious side, Paladins going down the drain, or criticisms that I have of Guild Wars 2 because it doesn't live up to the franchise's high points, even though it should do for the amount of money and effort and other things that have been supposedly put into the product, or my creativity by committee series. I expect every single video, to one extent or another, because it's the internet, to get backlash. I expect people to try and rip me to pieces on things, and yet they can say anything that they want to me. It's not going to make me stop espousing truth and evidence based on the stuff that I've either experienced, or the stuff that I have learned, stuff that I have taught, stuff that I can test every day when I do stuff, especially on the coaching side of things, stuff that I can verify scientifically, like some of the other videos that I've done on things like sexual dimorphism and stuff like that, and the psychological impact of that, psychological sex differences, all that kind of thing, or in terms of game design, story, stuff like that. I write. I've spent an awful lot of time passionately looking into how to tell stories, because as much as people can go and get educated on these things, you are never going to be able to tell a story unless you can stand up in front of people and tell a fucking story. So it doesn't matter how well you write mechanically or whatever else, you need to be able to present in a way that works with your readers, that applies itself to their psyche in a way that there is uptake. And that's a skill that can be learned and practiced, sure, but it's not one that is usually particularly well investigated by the people most interested in telling stories, hence the Creativity by Committee series, because they suck at it. But as a result, though, I'm expecting flack from every video. Every time I get a comment that's nice, or someone trying to help me, or someone saying thank you, especially the thank yous. The thank yous hit me here every time, because it's like, this is why I wanted to come to YouTube. This is why I wanted to put this stuff out at large, as it were, because those people who will benefit from it, those people who want to hear it, need to hear it, who can make use of it, I can't meet every single one of you in person. I would love to. I can't. It's just not possible. And yet it's a case of putting it out there for people that can make the most of it, who want that benefit from it. And yes, I do other stuff on the channel as well, because guess what? Everything is kind of connected in one way or another. Not in a airy fairy energy kind of way, but in terms of we're all human. It's all part of our ecosystem and in our environment, and we need to interact with it. And also, as I've said, I don't get a lot of time to sit, play games, do stuff anymore. A few things now and again, like especially at the weekend maybe, where most of my stuff is to do with uploading videos and tackling other stuff like that, instead of worrying too much about getting excessive amounts of work done in terms of like piles of paperwork or talking to people on the phone, because they've all got the weekend off too. So I'm uploading videos, I'm tidying up admin, I'm doing bits and pieces like that, and there's that. But you know, that as a result, me doing the gaming videos towards the end of each day now, it's just a way for me to relax, and it's something that I can share with you guys as well, where you get to see me more relaxed than just going 6 ways to not fuck up your life. But as a result, again, I'm aware of the fact that the backlash might happen. Does that stop me from saying and doing the things that I'm saying and doing? No, because if I was afraid of being offensive, then there would be no benefit in the things that I was putting out. There would be no kind of solidity in those things where I could go, do you know what, this video on the differences between guys and girls in dating, that could cause someone to get really upset. That could trigger someone horribly. In which case, I probably shouldn't do it. No, I should do it more. That's the specific reason. It could cause someone to get upset. But then why are they getting upset? They're getting upset because they're in a bad place attached to that situation. In which case, the stuff that I am putting out there is going to be grounded, sensible, testable. You know, I wouldn't put it out there if it wasn't. If it's an opinion video, if it's something else like that, then, you know, I make it fairly clear that that's what I'm doing. And so in that situation, that person who's got that negative attachment to that thing, they need some more help to get through those situations. They're not going to help it. They're not going to get through it if someone isn't willing to just slide past them being upset about it into a place where they can actually work on it as a problem. Again, comfort zone, border of the comfort zone is where you start to cry. Stretch zone is where you actually start to start making a difference. Panic zone, we don't go. Panic zone is a dangerous place. But and you can jump from just whinging on the edge of your comfort zone into your panic zone. That's fine. But that's where you then need to find a way to claw yourself back to the stretch zone to make progress. And that's, again, another thing where you can't do it just by relinquishing yourself to avoiding various things that just upset you. That's a case of having to tackle them head on, find your way back, blaze a trail between your comfort zone and your panic zone into that stretch space where you can work hard, where you can get the benefit from the conflict, where you can grow from it. You know, there is not a single hero, not a single person in history who has achieved and has achieved substantially without some form of conflict, be it conflict with themselves, conflict with their environment, conflict with their peers, conflict with the systems that they are working in. Science is all about conflict. It is about testing. Testing is this thing pitched against this thing to see which one comes out on top. You know, it's whether it's a case of I don't know and I want to know, so we will test this thing to find our way between those two things. There we go. There's a conflict between the absence of knowledge and the knowledge itself. And so that combative environment, as much as it's very nebulous and probably not usually considered to be a combative environment, it is one thing put in opposition of another. And they are coming together and something is growing from it. Usually the knowledge that you're arguably looking for, depending on whether or not you're actually looking for something specific or if you're just hoping for something illuminating. And as a result, that's the thing. The search for knowledge, the search for truth, the search for betterment is all about conflict. And conflict causes offense. That's why engaging in conflict, going and assaulting something, be it physically, mentally, verbally, whatever, is called being offensive. You are generating offense. Good job. Do it more. I'm not talking about going and punching people or anything like that. I'm talking about if you've got a problem in front of you, regardless of what the problem is, tackle it. Don't worry about being offensive. If you happen to be, and it happens to be something that matters, you can always say sorry. Yeah, and I'm not talking about breaking laws. I'm talking about if you've got some work to do, if you need to find out a thing, then go do it. And my voice is starting to go again after an entire day of recording. Go me. But as a result, see though, I'm imparting information, be it either opinion or fact or process or anything, and that conflict is it's wearing my voice out a little bit. But there it is. Conflict. Straight here in my thing. I could be upset about the fact my voice is wearing out. I could get annoyed and wound up that my body isn't being durable enough, or that it needs more fluid to keep itself running or whatever. But I'm growing from sharing with you guys. A comment was made by a friend of mine who watches my videos the other day about how the quality, the standard, and whilst there are still some bugs, for instance, I know that the sound dropped out on some of my gaming videos for the last couple of weeks since I was sorting out my PC and coming back and all the rest of it, which is something that I need to sort out and I know about and I'm going to fix for the next load of videos for this, or rather for the videos for this coming week where I'm recording, but the videos that you will have been seeing all week when this video goes up, it's a case of there's more conflict there, but it's little conflicts here and there and everywhere that I'm tackling, I'm fighting, I'm getting through the other side, I'm growing from it, I'm learning about what I can do about this, how I can be confident and come across as I usually would whilst in a tiny room by myself where I don't want to kind of get stuck on things, where it's a case of I would much prefer to be stood in front of a hall of 400, 500, a couple of thousand people or something presenting to you rather than just doing these videos. But there are so many more people out there that I can touch with these videos. So why wouldn't I want to do this? So it's finding that way past all of those blocks and the fact that I'm talking to myself in a room all alone. Yeah. But it's finding that's conflict internally. That's me fighting with myself to overcome parts of me that go, well, we need a crowd, we need to feed off people. No, we don't. We can do this by ourselves. We can make this happen. Everyone else on this platform can in some way do this. We're going to do it too. Let's go. And it's all about that conflict. It's all about that offense, that drive, because without it, you don't get anywhere. You get stuck in your little comfort zone, in your little bubble, and then if something bursts your bubble, you're screwed. And if you just get stuck there, then you waste away. But those are the thoughts that I kind of wanted to bring, that have just been floating around my head since I did that video last week. Since I watched the interview like 3 times, I had all my notes down, and then I made the video for you guys. And then just as making the video for you guys, I just had it all come into my head, and I just got stuck on that one line, that one thing that stumped her. And that kind of encapsulated the entire set of discussions they were having. Even though she tried to kind of still claw her way back and all the rest of it, she didn't really take on board what was said. It stood out, and it's probably the most important line, I feel, in that entire interview. So it's because it applies to everything as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Did you actually watch the interview? Did you enjoy the last video? And on top of that, like, what do you think about safe spaces being offensive? The conflict required to achieve progress. Let me know what you think, because it's an interesting topic and it touches everything. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the matter as well. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.